chemical weapons in World War II. You know, you had someone as despicable as Hitler, who didn't even sink to using chemical weapons.
Hitler didn't even sink to the level of using chemical weapons. So what did you mean by that?
I think when you come to sarin gas, he was not using the gas on his own people the same way that Assad is doing it. There was not he brought him into the Holocaust Center. I understand that.
Wow, even before Tuesday's White House briefing was over, the backlash over Sean Spicer's comments had begun, followed by calls for his resignation and a Spicer apology tour.
Tell us who you're apologizing to right now. There are Holocaust survivors out there who were listening to what you said and couldn't believe a spokesman, the press secretary for the President of the United States, would make such a statement. So just specifically, tell us who you want to apologize to.
Well, clearly, anybody who not just suffered in the Holocaust or is a descendant of anybody, but frankly, anyone who was offended by those comments.
Nancy Pelosi says you should be fired. Is your job safe?
Well, you know what? I made a mistake. I'm owning up to it. And, this is obviously I would expect or I'd hope that everyone understands that we all make mistakes and ask for forgiveness.
But will he get forgiveness? And more importantly, should he keep his job? Joining me now, Joel Benenson, MSNBC contributor and former Clinton campaign strategist, Democratic strategist Karine Jean-Pierre, and Jason Johnson, politics editor at TheRoot.com. Thank you all for being here. So, Joel, among those who were offended by Sean Spicer's remarks, well, everyone, but also, interestingly enough, one of the biggest donors to the Donald Trump campaign, Shelly Adelson, apparently contacted Spicer's office and got a personal apology from Spicer. Did the fact that that got out, that he personally apologized to a big donor before he started his public apology tour, did that help or hurt? Maybe it's a rhetorical question. Did that help or hurt this situation?
Well, I think it's probably more relevant to this situation. I think this goes beyond any one phone call. I think the question people have to ask when they say Spicer should resign is why? You know, the one thing that you don't want any White House press secretary, and if you talk to any of them in the past, you don't want to do from that podium is come close to compromising the truth. But he's working for a president who willingly compromises the truth day in and day out. So he may very well be the press secretary that this president wants. His own personal credibility is damaged. He's making mistake after mistake daily from that podium. It's not serving him well at all. And honestly, in the long run, I don't think it serves President Trump well.
But as somebody who he worked as a strategist, who worked for a president, I just want to, in the position that he's in, he has two choices. He can get out there and say whatever it is Donald Trump tells him to say, or he can leave, right? I mean, this is not an administration that's going to brook something other than lying if the president wants you to lie, right?
Well, the most valuable thing a communications director or a press secretary can do is make sure that you are telling the president the tough questions he's going to face, the tough answers that have to be delivered. You cannot be a pussycat in those jobs. You have to be one of the voices in that White House who's going to say, no, sir, we cannot go out there and defend that you falsely accused President Obama of wiretapping your phones. It will make your ratings worse. You will suffer with the American people. Those are the hard truths you have to tell a president in those jobs.
And then, Karine, isn't that the problem? It's not so much just what Sean Spicer is telling us, telling the public, and telling the press corps. It's what he's not telling Donald Trump, to Joel's point.
I think that's exactly right. If he had somewhat of a spine, he would be able to speak back and talk back to the president, or at least tell him, hey, I'm not going to go out and do that. But here's the thing. White House press secretaries tend to have the audience of the world. Sean Spicer has the audience of one, and that's Donald Trump. This is someone who watches cable television all night long, tweets in the middle of the night about it. He gets his intelligence briefing from Fox News. And this is what we have, unfortunately. This is what Sean Spicer is dealing with. But here, let's be clear here. Sean Spicer lost his credibility on day one when he went behind the podium and started lying about the crowd size. And since then, it's been lie after lie after lie. The only effective communication that this White House is able to do is leak on each other.
Yeah, and they are doing lots of that. Jason, I want to read you the series of people now calling for Spicer's ouster now includes Nancy Pelosi, who released a statement after his Holocaust comments. Sean Spicer must be fired, and the president must immediately disavow his spokesman's statements. Either he's speaking for the president, or the president should have known better than to hire him. You've also had Congressman Mike Kaufman, who became the first Republican to call on Spicer to go. Let's listen to what he said.
I think it is time for him to go. I think he's just, I just don't believe he's capable of doing the job at the level that it needs to be done. And again, he's not serving this president well.
And Jason, in a way, are people putting more of the onus on Spicer than they should, when really it's the president who decided to hire someone who can't stand up to him?
Exactly, Joy. I mean, first off, Sean Spicer has done this before. I think there's something about being in this administration that makes you more foolish, that brings out the worst parts of your personality, and he's just the most visible sign of it. I don't actually think he should be fired. I think in many respects, the fact that he goes out every day and lies and stumbles and is incapable of explaining what the actions are of this administration reminds us of the kind of president we have. I'd rather Sean Spicer go out there and lay an egg and make a fool of himself every single day than someone like Ari Fleischer or Gibbs, who would somehow make this administration seem legitimate. So the more he fails, the more we're reminded of who we have to live with for the next 4 to 8 years. And I think that's an opportunity for us to remember how to resist this kind of presidency and this behavior.
I mean, Joe, at this point, people know who the press secretary is. I was reading the poll in the break earlier. He's got a favorable of 28, a 37 of unfavorable, a 36% don't know who he is. Normally, like 99% don't know who he is. He's getting made fun of by Howard Stern. Howard Stern is saying fire Sean Spicer.
Right. I mean, he's become a regular character on Saturday Night Live. That's never good for you, right? When you're a press secretary or a communications director, you are not supposed to be the story. The fact that he's the story is a real problem for him, I think.
But it doesn't seem, Karine, that is what Donald Trump wants. I mean, Donald Trump wants a cast of characters around him. I mean, he is a TV personality himself, and so what he's looking for are fellow TV personalities to represent him.
Well, yeah, I mean, Donald Trump is a petulant child. He has skin, he has thin skin, and so it's all about his ego, right? It's all about, him. He wants Sean Spicer to get up there and fight for him, right? And so this is what he thinks the White House press secretary is supposed to be doing. And so it has nothing to do about telling the truth. We all know this president doesn't know how to tell the truth. It's all about his own, what he needs to suffice his ego.
And Jason, I wonder, is the press sort of doing ourselves a disservice? Because the media, we're going along. We're sending top reporters to those press briefings every day and becoming a part of the drama. I've heard, it's floated around before that maybe the media should just stop sending their top people.
I don't think that the media should stop sending their top people, Joy, but I do think this. I think that every single time Sean Spicer speaks, I think this is improved journalism. I mean, remember, I'm a journalism professor at Morgan. I think this is improved journalism because we're no longer having these arguments about fact-checking. We're really pushing for the truth. And I think every single time Sean Spicer says something that's a lie, and some network executive or some reporter from the Washington Post says that's not true, and tells him that in real time, it shows America what the Fourth Estate is really supposed to do. So, again, I think in some respects, while he's dishonest and he represents a dishonest administration, it is a benefit to the people because we get to see what's going on. I haven't been prouder of the press in a very long time.
Yeah, I think you're getting an amen. I was seeing some nods of an amen on this Easter Sunday. You're getting an amen.
Well, look, Joel. I think the press has been, and I agree with Jason's point, I think the press has generally been more genteel about going after President Trump and calling him a liar. A lot of journalists debated this for a long time and whether they should or not. With Spicer, it's been kind of open season right now because he's engaging in something from the podium that they have never seen or experienced before, and they're going to nail him and make him pay a price for the falsehoods in a way that they're not going to be as aggressive with the president.
We're out of time. Last word,
I think that's right. No, I was just going to say, Sean Spicer gets behind the podium and he creates policy. I mean, that's what he's doing. Right. And it gets him into trouble, which is obviously incredibly dangerous. And when he doesn't do that, what does he say? He uses this phrase all the time. I'll let Donald Trump speak for itself.
Yeah. And he's given us the gift of Melissa McCarthy. We think he should just go back to being the bunny. I'm staying with Be the Bunny. That is hashtag Be the Bunny. That is what I'm sticking with. Yes. Joel Benenson, Karine Jean-Pierre, Jason Johnson. Thank you all.
Thanks.